Churches can have a lot of baggage, but I think what we can do is say that there are some fun things in that baggage. So, on this episode, we're going to talk about how to put the fun back in the established church. All right, Dad, ministry's hard, but if you're not having fun, then you're not a joyful church leader. So, let's talk about fun things in the established church.
Let's get Chuck Carter back in here. I want to get Chuck and I served at two churches. Uh, he was I was the lead pastor. He was the XP, and it just seemed like everything we did got us into a humorous situation, or we saw the humor of it. And now that he's working with us as well on the Church Answers team, we're having fun with recall and recollection of things. So it was a lot of fun, and I got to say this. After a season of my life that maybe was not the most fun, or I didn't let it be fun, I'm having a lot more fun in ministry than I have in a long time.
Ministry's hard, but I think it should also be fun, and I think we should. The thing about fun is you have to seek it out. You have to take the initiative. You have to be proactive about joy, and you even have to seek happiness. And I realize that happiness is more kind of based upon your surroundings, and it's kind of how you feel, and joy is more this deep rooted sense of Holy Spirit guidance. And I get the difference there, but I don't think God wants His children to be unhappy. I don't think God's looking
Nope.
down and saying, "I hope they're unhappy. I hope they're not having fun." In fact, I think that when we get to heaven, the one attribute of God that we're gonna find is way more prevalent than we realized was his sense of humor, laughter, and levity. It would not surprise me that in heaven, we have the greatest practical jokes of all time. I would just like I would
Hmm.
just like
Now that's got me thinking about sanctified practical jokes because we're fully sanctified, we're glorified. So I have to,
you
have to think
you
about
know what
that.
my favorite practical joke is around the church?
Pull your finger?
No. Fake poo.
No. Oh, yeah, I remember the
Yeah,
fake poo.
well,
I
there
remember
I still have several,
you still have a you
and,
still have some
it's
patties?
actually soap, and you can just, for those of you who are tuning in, you can just get an idea of what you can do with fake poo soap. It's found on Amazon. They are not a sponsor of the for YouTube.
Well, we probably just sold some
Yeah,
fake poo.
somebody's gonna go get some, uh
Yeah, like me, I think I might do
Okay,
that
so
too.
one of my favorite things to do, in an established church, and a lot of established churches just they're built over time. I know in our case, we have a little larger building. It's 5 buildings built over 5 decades. We have about 50,000 square feet, which is not a giant church, but it's certainly on the larger side. And one of my favorite things to do with my kids is to play hide and seek, to take them into quirky and odd spots in the church. There are always places to discover. My favorite thing when it comes to the facility of West Bradenton Baptist when I got here. Now it's since been renovated, so it doesn't exist anymore. There was literally a secret passageway between
So
I'm not kidding. A secret passageway between the library and a kitchen that nobody knew existed.
so if you wanted to either steal pots and pans or going the other way, books, you could get to one of the 2 places without being
It
detected.
was a shelf that was built into the wall that was a door. And so it was full of books, and, you see the movies where the library has, like, a secret door. We literally had one of those. So
And it's gone now with the
well,
remodeling.
the library needed quite a bit of work. One of my favorite things to do in the library when I first got here was to go look at all the books and to see which ones had not been checked out since the '50s and '60s, or if they'd ever been checked out.
Mm,
And sure enough, I would pull a book off the shelf and, they'd have the old stamp in it in the back, and it would say, "So and so check this book out in 1959 or 1960." That was literally the last time it'd been off the shelf. And I'm sure I'm
not
sure
the
some
most
of our
popular.
listeners can relate. I'm sure some of our listeners can.
Hey, yeah, look, they need to get your book.
It's
Does your
You
library
know
have
what?
does your book have that? Did your church have the church
I think
revitalization
that's a
checklist?
great segue for my new book. Yeah, you gotta grab a copy, The Church Revitalization Checklist, a hopeful and practical guide for leading your congregation to a brighter tomorrow. Titles are longer now, Dad. You know why? Search
SEO,
engine optimization. If you're wondering, like, man, book titles have weirdly gotten longer. It's because
especially subtitles.
yep, it's because of search engine optimization and Amazon. So, yes, I realize the title is long. That is intentional. So
It is an incredible book, though. It is the practical application of church revitalization with the sound research, and that research is both quantitative and qualitative that is put into that. And it is, hey, this is the how to, this is the seminal how to book on church
that
revitalization.
was the goal. We will let the readers decide whether we accomplish the goal. But yeah, Church Revitalization Checklist. We'll put a link down below. You can get you a copy. I would love for you to read the book. So good segue from libraries to my book. But the other thing that I think can be just fun in the established church is history. Learning about the history, learning about the stories, learning about all the people that came through.
You went to a church to visit some friends, and you went to a room, and the history included me.
Oh, you're talking about Azalea. Yeah, well, that
Yes,
was that
yes.
was childhood church. They pulled out all the old picture books, and they had photos in them, photo albums, and it was the heyday. You were the heyday. Don't let anyone tell you that your ministry has, not had impact at because you have, because you were the heyday in the 1980s and the 1990s at Azalea Baptist in St. Pete, Florida.
And that makes me feel better because we were recording something not too long ago. I think it was the Gold case study, and I said I wanted to go to, Rosemary Beach, and you said, "No, your days your days have passed as a pastor. Don't even
Well,
think
that's
about it."
because in our gold collab, which we'll put a link to the gold subscription that we offer down below as well, in case you're wondering what it is, you can go check it out. Um, there's a pastor that's already there. His name is Cole, and he is a wonderful pastor. And
I said I want to go co-pastor with him.
I don't think that's
You
wise
said
either.
you said, "No, no, no, no. Don't even think about it. He's doing too great a job. You'll mess it
So
up."
when I went to a church, not the current church I'm at, but it was a church that had a long and storied history. There was actually a book written on the church that I was going to go pastor, and I loved reading about that book. Loved reading about the church through the book. I learned that a former pastor spent time in jail for neglecting to do to be vaccinated, if I remember right, or no, not vaccinated, but to stop meeting during the 1918-1919 pandemic. So,
Wow.
yeah, Boyce Taylor, if you're wondering, Boyce Taylor, you can do a little more research there, and you'll probably find out a lot of things about Boyce Taylor that he was a bit of a firebrand. We'll just say that, and he challenged the whole like lockdown in during the 1918-1919 flu pandemic. I think I have this right. I don't have any notes in front of me, and yeah, got sent to jail. They 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 arrested him.
Well, that's modern history. How about these stories to uncover? Why is that fun?
Stories are connected to the history of the church, but I like hearing about stories from my church members. So I've got a
Especially the long-term members.
yeah, well, I've got a church member here. He's a deacon, great guy. He at one point had his NASCAR license. He raced. He played
Yeah.
guitar with Elvis. He built planetariums. You talk about eclectic. I raced some level of NASCAR. I don't know car racing all that well. I played music with Elvis, and I built planetariums.
NASCAR Elvis planetariums. There's a theme that's going
I
through
don't know. I
there.
don't know what the theme is.
I don't know what it is, but there is a theme going through
And he
there.
is so much fun. He's an older guy, so much fun, one of our deacons. And Joe, I don't know that you watch YouTube, but you're the best. Those are fun. Those are the library with the secret door, the crazy quirky history of the church, the church members that got all the stories. I mean, this you have to seek this stuff out, and you have to go find the fun. But that's part of the fun is uncovering all this stuff. So yeah, lots of stories to uncover. Um,
Do you remember what the adjacent room was to my office in St. Petersburg?
there's a bathroom. And then in an office.
Well, I was part I had a bathroom in my office, which was really a treat as well. No, it was the printing press room. We had our own printing press, and it was old, and it required ink, and it was I said, "Well" this was in the '80s, but you still could take things to a printer. I said, "Why do we do that?" "Well, we're saving money with doing our own printing." I said, "I don't think so." We we were having to repair the machine. The machine was almost the size of a small room.
Wow. S
And you could not be the assistant and then the secretary of the church unless you had been fully trained in the printing
Oh,
machine.
man.
And I remember our assistants would come out of that and doing the bulletin, the newsletter, and they'd have ink all over them, and they'd be filthy, and many times they'd say, "I have to go home and take a shower." 'Cause
Which gets us to the 4th thing that we wanna talk about, quirkiness. Established churches can be very quirky, and that can be a lot of fun. In fact, you could even replace the word quirky with awkward, and there's
Yep.
so oh, man. Oh, awkward. Oh my goodness. Okay, so my, I hope I'm not gonna cross too many lines. I will cross some with this next story, but I hope I don't cross too many. Um, so my first Sunday here at West Bradenton, Dad, I don't even know if I've ever told you this story because it's traumatic. Um,
Yeah, right.
so my in our tribe, you preach in view of a call. It's kind of a weird phrase for everyone's going to hear your sermon, they're going to vote on you. So the Sunday that I came to preach in view of a call, where the church voted me in as the pastor, I'm walking down the hall to the reception where everyone's going to say, "Hey, congratulations!" And there was a guy who was part of our church. He did not stay part of our church because he did not get what he wanted out of me. So he left. But he came up to me and he goes, "I believe Paul wrote in the Bible that we're to greet each other with a holy kiss," and then attempted to. Let's just say this was not a typical kind of kiss that you would give as a greeting culturally. It's more of a romantic attempt, and and, I was I pushed him away, and that was the end of that. It was a really awkward moment, and to this day, we still, as a staff, laugh about Beach Guy. We did not know his name, no one knew his name. He was just known simply around town as Beach Guy, so there you go.
Beach guy would not get within 50 feet of me. I remember I was new in an organization one time, and this woman came up to me and she said, "I'm a hugger." I looked at her and said, "I'm not," and I walked away.
So here's the thing, in the comments section, put something down there about an awkward story, something quirky, maybe part of your facility that's just strange. I mean, tell us something fun about your church, something fun. The last thing that I'll say is the gospel should have an element of fun to it. I understand sin is serious, redemption is for the glory of God, all of that. But part of salvation and being redeemed should mean a joy, which should lead to a life that has a level of fun to it. So your gospel work should be fun as well. And now that's on you as a church, that's on you as a leader. Find ways to make the gospel engaging, if not fun. Um,
This information is really timely. It's always good, but really timely because we have a lot of people that have forgotten fun. We have a lot of pastors and church members and staff that have forgotten fun. So this is a good reminder for all of us.
Indeed. So grab a copy of my book. I know that's a shameless plug, but you know what? It's
I'll
it
plug it
it's our
unshamelessly. It
YouTube
was
channel.
incredible.
So grab a copy of the book. The link is below. Also, we are offering to our YouTube audience a free 30-day trial of our silver membership. The link for that is below as well. So you can get access to 30 days just to see what it's all about. You get into Church Answers Central, which is this safe, private place where you can ask all these questions. It's got a community of over, we used to say 1,800, but guess what? It's now 1,900 plus. We're closing in on
And growing.
2,000 subscribers. So there's a great place for you to get your questions answered. That's what we're about at Church answers. So, like this video, hit subscribe. We would love to be able to give you more content. And you can visit us at churchanswers.com, where we are growing healthy churches together.
Together.